weekly way. Oh, I can't spell the nose. The weekly way. Oh, can you tell me who? The weekly way. Did you see it? The weekly way. I'm glad you stopped by. Take him to him, baby. Take him up again. Oh, can you tell me who? The weekly way. Oh, yeah. Number 2. Yeah, that'll be your personal volume, and then turn that guy.
And that'll take anything else that's...
Yeah, it's all one signal. Do me a favor, turn that mic for you.
Of course.
What's going on, DJ JK?
Oh, not too much.
Thanks for taking the time, man.
Thank you for the coffee.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Fuck that bitch hot. Jesus Christ.
No, I was wondering if you use the pods, or I usually grind my own and put it into like the reusable pods. But I got an espresso machine for a housewarming gift for my mom.
Yes.
I use that thing every day now.
I was talking shit to my wife about putting an espresso machine on our what's it called, registry.
Yeah.
And
somebody would have bought it, I swear.
Some family friends did buy it for us, and I make quadruple shots every day.
Every day?
And dude, I take off. I always thought it would be like something that would help like my morning writing and I get things done.
Yeah.
And no, I just go tweaker until I eat something. It's like it derails my entire day at the beginning.
I know, I totally get it, because there's a frother on the side of mine, and we've yet to use it because I want to make some chai for my wife.
Yeah.
And because she was kind of a barista at the hotel she worked at the Marriott in Florence by the airport. So she's like, I know how to make all these drinks. Like, we just gotta like have some time to actually do it. And I'm usually just like throw in my espresso, turn it on. To be honest, it's quicker than Keurig too.
It's much quicker than making like a normal coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say I prefer the taste. Like, now here's the real issue. I've developed a love of red eye or black eye, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Like, you mix the two.
Dirty
it's like
chai or
yeah. So what is a chai?
Okay, so a chai is really just like the tea. Like, you can buy like a 32-ounce paper thing of it, and it's just like flavored tea. But it's more of like if you get a chai latte or something at a coffee place, there's not any caffeine in it. It's just like I guess whatever the tea has in it. But
interesting.
It's mostly a flavor.
Yeah.
I think we went and got Starlight Donut Labs on this past weekend, which if you've never had, oh my lord.
Where's that at?
I think it's in Norwood.
Okay.
They're not far from you, but they do a lot of fun variations. They have their fall flavors. Each month they change their flavors, but they have staples too.
Very
and
nice.
They had a chai one, and she like ate half of it, and then she's like, she knew I was kind of interested, and she's like, I'm gonna eat the other half of this, just so you know. I'm like, go for it, babe. That's fine. Don't worry about it. So,
I'm always waiting for my wife to not finish something, and that's when I'm fucking
like,
there, man.
I see those curly fries over there.
Dude, I'm up for whatever, but she's a spice fiend, and I'm a bit of a bitch about spice.
That's so funny because it's swapped. I'm the other way. I'm the one that's like, let's flavor the hell out of it. I don't want to like put my mouth on fire, but like sometimes I'll make some. She's like, "Oh, that was a little spicier than usual." I'm like, "Oh, my bad."
Well, and it's interesting because like spice is what I've realized for a lot of folks. It unlocks a lot of their palate. It's like it's a sensation that brings flavor. It's not necessarily a flavor. Versus I can't get past the feeling. Like the feeling kind of derails me enjoying a meal.
Well, I'll say this about spice or like heat level. I can go pretty hot when it's like a liquid. Like if it's a hot sauce, I can go pretty hot on that. Maybe because I know how much I'm putting on it. But if I ever make like or order something from, for instance, Joella's, they have really good fried chicken, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You can get like the Joella's Fave, which is like a very medium base of spice, but really flavorful, but not like gonna, you know. I had one piece of Nashville hot chicken from the place that's real popular in Nashville.
Yeah.
Just the one piece of the hot. I was like, I want to try it. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like, it's getting me kind of hot, but my God, did my insides not enjoy that at all. And it was like, this was on like our mini moon that we took right after we got married. And my God, it was like, Yeah, we were finding restrooms every 30 minutes. We'll just say that.
Yeah. So
it was hell.
As someone that works as much in the wedding sphere, it's like there's certain things that when you're on the phone with these couples, you tell them about things that aren't related to the service you provide. Do you recommend the mini moon? Get out immediately, go enjoy yourself.
Do something, because there's some couples that are basically already living together. They have kids, blah, blah, blah. There's blended families. I would say an escape is good, just to like, because I just had a bride told me, we just had this really great wedding, and she told me, she's like, I'm kind of down, like I'm off that wedding high. I was like, I know, like I get it, like I literally have to deal with that every night I'm doing a wedding, because like even if it was like, there are weddings that are still kind of like, they're good but they're not great, like, because I set my bar pretty high for what comes to what.
Sometimes it's just a job. Yeah, it's not a perfect gig.
And to be honest, I get that a lot more when I'm at bars. I do a shit ton of stuff for Braxton, obviously, but I know their vibe. I know what they do. I'm usually done there by 11 and then packed up at home by midnight. But every once in a while, I jump on at a bar just to kind of practice my skills and also do something different. Like my friends at Gypsies, like I'll jump in there sometimes with my buddy Joe, and it's kind of like I'm reminded how much I hate staying up that late when I'm actually working that late, because I might have already had a full day. But it's a spontaneous industry. It's kind of fun sometimes. I'm sure you've gotten called about a gig day of, or like, hey, we're trying to get this filled.
Totally.
I literally just got a text from a friend like, dude, our lighting person dropped out for our event Friday. Do you know anybody? I'm like, let me see. I probably do. Yeah. But it might cost you. So
that's always the funniest, when you're connecting friends from very different sides of life. But one thing that I loved about, you and I kind of known each other before, like chatting a little bit more down at the banks and at the battles and whatnot. But that's been a place that I've gotten to experience what the full plethora of Cincinnati's DJ scene is.
For sure.
Because seeing it broken into categories and hearing guys perform under such categories really reminds you of how diverse this can be.
Oh, yeah.
Because so many people, like, as much as I respect all the musicians in my life, I think the people that get shat on the most are DJs who have a great level of musicianship.
Yeah.
People don't respect the fact that you're doing a lot more than pressing play up there. You're curating the entire night. You have a continual finger on the pulse. And some guys go more the full extent of I dissect songs and I rebuild things. Some folks are the type where it's like, I know this client wants remixes, so I'm bringing remixes to the table, and I'm just going to make sure we kind of guide through this.
And sometimes you're even like, you have your wedding standards, but I have some remixes of songs that are like, if I saw that they were real into Motown, I'm going to throw in this remix I have of, it's one I use all the time by Smirk. It's Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I can get away with that, and then go into like a Pitbull song or a T-Pain song at that same BPM. That it's because that remix is very like, it's actually over a David Guetta track, so like it works really well if people are already singing along, because sometimes they'll hear something like, oh, okay, this is a good beat, I really like this groove, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I know the words, because it's a song they actually know, mixed with another old melody or bass line or something that they're familiar with.
Yeah, and you're always walking that line between dissonance and consonance, things that feel comfortable and things that kind of push where you're at with it. So I feel like there's a lot of times we're taking classic tracks that have great remixes and implementing the set. Absolutely. It helps you walk that line a little bit more clearly.
Like, I always tell couples that are like a little bit more on the sing-along wedding bangers, those are all great, please do that. Then I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, sometimes I'll throw in a remix of a song that is like just as much like the old song, but maybe a little bit faster and a little bit. And they're usually a lot of times they're just like, here's some songs we want. Take the keys and drive, please. We know we've been to a wedding that you've done. We've heard how great you are. Please, and it's really great when people come to me that are already like, hey, we heard about you from two people, so they know kind of what to expect. And
referrals always are more comfortable.
They kind of trust you.
Yeah.
So, and that's the most important part, to be honest, because if a couple doesn't trust you to pull off their vibe, then it's like, they might be up like, please play this song. Hey, can you play? They might be up on your ass some more.
Yeah, and that shit on the day of the wedding, I don't want to hear anything besides I'm happy or I'm not happy, because unfortunately I have to drive this bus. I can't take
especially when you're playing with your full band, right? Because you might be changing your set list halfway through.
Totally, and you're coordinating that amongst 7 people, and it's like, hey, I'm happy to aim for a different direction than where we're going, but I can't have you yelling left turn, right turn, left turn from the back.
Well, dude, like, this is going to blow your mind. I did an Indian baby shower. 6 hours. That is not a typo. 6 hours. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you want. And I like charged them. It was a Sunday. I'm like, okay, whatever. It was so hard to get out of them what they wanted to hear. And at one point, she sent me like a whole bunch of songs. And she's like, yeah, play from this. And then like, it's 6 o'clock. And I'm like, I know how I feel when I eat a bunch of delicious Indian food. These people have got to be exhausted. No, that last hour, the 40 to 60 to 70-year-olds were all out there like ready to dance, and just I came to find out from one of their planners, like, yeah, the Indian community in general, they can be rather demanding, but it can also be a very profitable industry. Like within their wedding world, they do a lot of celebrations, but it's like it's a different culture. You just have to understand that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I would probably never do another Indian event just because I'm not prepared in the way that somebody else would be. There's some guys that do it really well in our area, to be honest, and they pull off these big, extravagant, beautiful weddings that are a high ticket, high tier, high paying thing, but they know that somebody's gonna be like I'll play this banger next, or
Yeah.
I literally like we had like 10 minutes left, and I'm like, okay, cool, the last song is gonna be this, and she's like, yeah, and then she comes up 5 minutes later, no, play 30 seconds of that last one. I'm like, really? That's what you want me to do? So
Yeah.
that became aggravating, but it was also a very good life lesson to understand, okay, this is what they expect. If I ever get into that type of market, I just need to know that I have these certain songs. I need to be very familiar with these songs, because a lot of them are sing-alongs from like popular like Bollywood movies.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have ever seen like a really good Bollywood movie, it has incredible action, incredible sing-alongs. There's dance parts to it. It's all types of crazy stuff. It's awesome.
Well, it's a different bag. I think like it's always best to go experience before you try to entertain on a subject.
Right.
You know, like there's like the battles. It's like there's very different styles here.
Absolutely.
And before I go try to emulate one of these styles, I need to have an understanding of what is not just the standards, but what's the feeling? What do you want to get out of this kind of thing?
Well, and I've even said to my biggest piece of advice I give to people trying to enter battles, it's like your goal is not to win the battles. Your goal is to showcase. Your goal is to get creative and do something that you wouldn't regularly feel comfortable doing in a live setting, but something that you have practiced 20, 30, 50, 100 times to make this really cool. And then the people there might be like, whoa, I didn't know he could beat match that well, or whoa, I didn't know he could get so creative with wordplay or using stems or using other things that we can do as a DJ to really like elevate an experience. So
Yeah.
I've barely made it past one round in general, and to be honest, I got more out of just being at the battles than I was performing. So
Yeah, and when it's someone that doesn't even DJ and doesn't really understand the ins and outs of
but
that,
you
it's like,
played with DJs.
yeah, and I love
With
jamming
Ace
with
Deuce?
guys.
Yeah.
What Ace Deuce and Combat, like those are two of my favorite musicians in town.
Seriously.
You know, because we can do so many different things that, you know, with a regular acoustic guitar player on my side, it's like we can't make that happen necessarily.
Yeah.
But I want to go back a little bit more. So, your youth in music, you picked up a guitar around 14.
Around
you said
14, yeah.
Is that your first instrument?
Yeah, well, kind of. I was in band in middle school, but it was trombone and tuba.
Cool.
Just because I thought they were cool. I liked ska music at that time in
Yeah.
my life, and but I was terrible at both. We had a really great band director, but he literally left my 8th grade year and went to another school that could pay more. And it was well worth it. That he had built an incredible program for like the Band of America programs and stuff of that nature. And he still helped out with the Beechwood High School stuff, but he had gone on to another school, and he probably saw a need. He's not that he was done there, but he's like, I've left a really great foundation for this school to continue on. His kids were still going to Beechwood.
Yeah.
But
It's tough when you have that pivotal character move out of there. though.
Exactly.
Was this required of your early education to be in band, or did you opt in?
It was a choice, but you had to do some type of education towards music. Like I was in chorus for 2 or 3 years in high school, and I really liked it because it was fun. I did plays from 7th grade to 12th grade. It was something that I already did and learned. I could sing a little bit.
Yeah.
And act and all that jazz. It was fun. But there was probably a rudimentary version of band, as you say, or some type of. I remember our middle school years. Each quarter was split up between, okay, you're gonna take some history and dance, which was hilariously taught by our gym teacher that had no nature, had no business teaching us about dance. I'll say that. And then there was an art one where you had to like learn some art. There was a theater one, and then the fourth quarter, I can't remember, it was something weird. It didn't even make any sense. But anyway, it was kind of like Beechwood was good about kind of putting you in certain situations where you might not want to learn something about it, but you still have to do a little bit. Like, and if you didn't like that track, well, then guess what? Next quarter, you're in something different. So.
Yeah. I think it's important that to appreciate any type of art, you should have tried it at some point so you can understand the bare minimum to make it happen a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
starting off on a one-note monophonic instrument like a tuba or a trombone and trying to make that instrument at least sound like it should is such an uphill battle.
Of
that
course.
starting there.
How was it for you? Was a guitar put in your hands, or were you?
Yeah, guitar was number one, and guitar is like a piano to me, where it's like, okay, you can strum a note and it's going to sound decent. You don't have to work on the omniture and just the general approach. But it takes years to start playing your first chords and feeling like, oh, this is natural, it's comfortable.
I remember the feeling of just like being able to like pluck my strings and be like, ooh, and even as a 14-year-old, like I don't know anything about this, but like I had probably messed around with my brother's electric guitar like years before that, because I remember being kind of sad and maybe a little bit mad that he was getting rid of it. I was like, I like that, let me play with it.
And this is before you were kind of like 14 and interested in it.
Yeah.
And so what was it like to pick it up? You had kind of finished up with band, and this was just something on the side that you were trying?
It was a big surprise. I think my parents knew I was interested in music, but they didn't know in what what's the right word? In what medium, seriously. Yeah. So they knew that I had friends that played guitar and like had people I could jam with, and it was I was going not only was it a guitar, but I was going right into taking lessons too. So
that's awesome. How long did you take lessons?
For about 2 years. So I was not very good at reading music, but when Dick could teach me like chord theory, and also like he's like, bring a song you want to play, like tell me about a song and we'll learn it. And there was times where I literally brought a CD in. I might have even like printed off tablature or something and said, hey, I want to learn this. And very first song I learned, Blink-182, Damn It.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very on the nose.
Yes, exactly. Like music that I loved.
How old are you? 30?
I'm 39. I'm going to be 40 next
Okay,
March.
so you're a little bit older than I thought, but
How dare you? I'm kidding.
I thought you were going to be like 34, 35. But
I get that.
I think there's like this 20-year span that you and I are both in where things like Blink and, All American Rejects, like this new era of guitar player music kind of reignites a love for that. Like we're a little bit outside the classic rock era, but 2000s R&B and whatnot was starting to fade away, and you had kids that wanted to play real instruments again.
And then again, when the EDM craze came in, it was like a lot of kids wanting to play music through a MIDI controller.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing a whole, like, obviously there's these like festivals that are bringing back all of our old favorite pop punk and alternative bands, but there's also another wave of people that are writing that pop punk music again, because like, oh, these old heads that love punk rock from the late 90s, early 2000s are coming out to see them. Why would they'd want to come out and see us? I guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, it's become a new like subliminal genre for larger categories. I see a lot of country going pop punk. I see a lot of new pop going that way. Olivia Rodrigo's. Yeah, you got bro country that wants to go that way. So it's interesting the way that there is kind of interminglings with this nostalgic part of that era. But keep me going like kind of linear. So you're playing guitar, and then you see kids trying to get MIDI controllers and whatnot. Do you jump to that start of things, or? It
wasn't that quick of a jump, but because my family had been I've grown up on Apple products, because being in the family's printing promotional business, that was the best type of computer for graphic design back then, all that jazz. So it wasn't until I really got my own computer, a little probably 24 key electronic keyboard, that I was like making stupid stuff. I wrote a hip hop album for my one buddy. Don't get me wrong, I cannot write a hip hop album right now, but I did for him back then, because I understood GarageBand. I understood how to do some things. I kind of understood quantizing, but not that much.
Yeah.
They kind of make it very easy for people to do that.
They made it accessible in a totally different way than anything else.
It's more of a it's a bit more complicated these days. It's because they want to be more like your Ableton, like your Logic, like your whatever. But at the same, because they understand the social norm of like, oh yeah, people know at least this much about it, so then why wouldn't they know this much about it?
And the new AI stuff that's on Logic and GarageBand and Ableton is incredible. But that brings me to a kind of interesting question. You're a parent, and you're looking at your kids experiencing music and how they might be involved in music in the upcoming digital times that we live in.
Yeah.
If I was going to start a kid on an instrument, I would hope that they could learn to facilitate a keyboard, because it seems like the best access.
I would say a ukulele.
Really?
Because they can actually, like, my kids are already, I'll show you a picture of my office, but I've got my bass, I've got my Quattro, I've got my acoustic and my electric all up on the wall. And any time that my 4-year-old managed to sneak into the office, he's like, play me a song. And once my little mariachi guitar, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but don't take it outside of the room because you're gonna run into something and break it.
Yeah. Is that your Quattro you're saying?
Yeah, it's a mariachi guitar.
Cool.
And I bought it because I saw it at Music House, and I was like, what is that? And at the time, I had a mandolin and a 12-string, and I'm like, I could sell my mandolin and my 12-string and have this thing because it's brighter, but it's I treated that, I still treat that thing more on like a bluegrass type folk instrument when really it's meant to be like a heavy strummed like
Yes.
mariachi guitar. It's funny that it's called a quattro too because it actually has 5 sets of strings. It's called a 5-string quattro because there's a 4-string that is more popular. It's tuned like a 5-string bass, so you got your upper register or your lower register up top, and then if you would strum basically a G, it would be a D.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Well, one of the best Quattro players in the Midwest lives in Cincinnati, Nick Redina.
Okay.
He plays with OAR. He does their monitors.
Yeah, because OAR is from the Columbus area, right?
Yes, and Nick is a monster on that thing. I don't really understand the instrument, but I definitely see what you're saying. Like, in terms of approachability for kids and emulating what they see, it's incredible to put a uke in their hands. Or
Yeah, and it's a very introductory, like, you could go to probably Walmart and buy a ukulele for them.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be upset if they break it because you spent, what, $15-20 on it?
Yes, it is expendable.
If they're good at it, then maybe you get them a little bit or they're exploring, like they're plucking the strings, maybe breaking the strings.
Yeah.
But they get into that, they're like, okay, I'm interested in this. Maybe why don't we go to? It's hard to say now because like there's not as many guitar centers or Sam Ashes anymore. Let's go to a music store and let you like mess around with stuff.
It's sad that you can't try it out like that, but
you still can, but just not as easily these days.
In terms of the access, though, that like I miss on a DAW or something like that. If I had the facility to play a keyboard a little bit better, I would have access to all the string patches and the horn patches. It feels like if you learn that, then your access to all of Western music is a lot more immediate. Yeah, cinematic, immediate. You can get more textural.
I would say you have to gauge your child's their level of learning and understanding because I will say everybody that I know that has become like a prodigy at the piano ended up being a very smart person in general. So I think it's a matter of if they can think like a ukulele, you can just strum it and like, oh, I'm having fun of it and that's good to me. And it'll be more fun if I have a complex instrument. But if they have the brain power at a certain age to understand playing keyboard, then they are probably going to exceed in life more academically too.
Yeah, I think there's a math problem to be had underhand there, and learning other instruments after keys, you have the musical rationale to make a lot of things happen. But kind of walk me through getting behind a set of tables for the first time and
so
being
it wasn't
interested.
even a set of tables; it was actually a smaller controller. I had gone over to my friend's house and like known that he's played some of that music, and I've been to some battles. I mean, if you really think about it, I've been DJing since 2006, but I did a lot of weddings. I was mostly just playing music out of iTunes and stuff like that. Not really mixing, but I might set up. I don't know if you remember, like in iTunes, you could have a playlist, and then you could set a crossfade for each song. So I was doing that. I was just building a big playlist, and then I would set like a 5 to 10 second crossfade, so I was kind of blending music, but not really.
Yeah, you're just shortening that gap
automated.
between.
Like, and if I needed to slam into a song, I would just like double click on it, and then say one song started to suck, boom. Now I could have made that even a little bit more clean if I had like a laptop and maybe a backup like iPod and actually this like I could do it real manually.
Yeah.
So I did that for probably about 4 years. I still remember the first wedding I did that was for a complete stranger because I think I either answered a Craigslist ad or put a Craigslist ad out, and it was fine. It was a weird dynamic because it seemed like the bride and groom did not like each other. Like they had a kid together.
There's some of those out there.
Yeah,
for
and it's
sure.
weird. Like I mean, when you've done hell over 500 weddings, you get to see how many.
Yeah. When you've seen happy couples,
Yeah.
like there's a precedent. But why would you step into something so serious so early? That feels like a huge jump to me.
I was already like running sound for certain random things. People knew I could be trusted with that. It was for friends. They knew that I could set up for what's called Club for Young Life when I was real involved in high school. They knew that I could set up sound and that I was funny and that I could actually like I was responsible. That's the right word.
Yeah.
And then I had the right things to do it. And it was just like, okay, cool. I wasn't stressed at all during that wedding. The only time, because a lot of my friends were there, and I knew they were all there to just have a good time, and nobody was going to get mad if I messed up a transition or anything. I wasn't, in 2006, I wasn't even thinking, oh, I'm going to keep DJing. I was like, oh, this was fun, and blah, blah, blah.
So you already owned a PA system and all that?
I definitely borrowed one, I think. I know my parents did buy me a PA system that we had used for other extracurricular activities and for like my band practice, because I had a punk rock band when I was in high school. We never played a show, but we sure practiced a couple times.
Yeah.
But so I always had access to stuff, but like back in the day, gosh, I would go to record stores, but I never once bought a vinyl record till I was probably in my mid-20s.
But it's so interesting to go from a place of like playing in a band, running sound, to kind of like a back door into the world of DJing. It's like you're not using the typical facilities. You're learning the job without the tools.
Until somebody started being like, "We'll pay you to do this." I'm like, "Oh, I can get paid to do this." That's when I was like, let's take at least a little bit more seriously. You know, back in the mid to late 2000s, I was getting my music, sorry government, off, you know, ShareBear, LimeWire, all of like the share sites, or like the
Don't
things
apologize to the government.
Yeah.
You hurt Metallica.
Yeah.
You hurt Lars. You broke his heart, you bastard.
Oh, I will break his heart every damn day. I wish nothing. I wish no bad things on anything, but the second that they kick out Lars Ulrich, Metallica would be a significantly better band.
You know, there's we're allowed to have our feelings about certain bands and certain bandmates. It's like I don't think they'd ever get to where they were without that group of guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chemistry that, like...
But it is funny the way that, like, he just got so hated for defending artists' rights. And, like,
I'm not even talking about that. I mean, Lars is a terrible drummer. He really is. He is so bad. Like, I've seen them 3 times, and it's just like, I will be with a friend that knows how I feel about Lars. I'm just like, looking over like, yep, this is happening. He's been playing with this band for over 40 years, and he still sucks.
You know, I think there's...
but there's the Napster thing, too.
I'll respectfully disagree with him being terrible, but he's definitely not my favorite. He's definitely not up there.
It's not like... I mean, obviously he's a good drummer, but there's just sometimes where I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
there's weird things. So, but did you ever play drums?
No, surprisingly, that's the one thing that I like. I could kill on some bongos, but I've never been able to separate my brain enough to be like left kick, right tom, or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
I can dick around with it a little bit and, like, you know, but I'm never gonna be. I would love to be honest. One day, it's just a matter of I have enough musical interests and instruments. At one point, I had about 9 of them. So,
well,
you got a pretty decent collection here.
Yes, this is a place where I can just fuck around and have a good time. But it is weird the way that independence stimulates the mind, especially when you look at, like, you know, I had a drummer named Matt McAllister on a couple weeks ago. Incredible jazz drummer, really nice dude. But he's talking about when you're a kid and people start to put certain labels on you, like you shouldn't have so much energy, you shouldn't be so active.
Yeah.
But it turns out they might have an ability here that you're putting off as a stigma of something that's wrong with them.
Sure.
And when you teach a kid how to count with their left foot, and now the rest of their limbs are kind of free to do these things, like there's something really beautiful about engaging the mind in that way.
Yeah.
And I always say when I'm playing, I'm singing, there's a passive task and there's an active task. I'm thinking about what I'm playing, so I'm not really thinking about what I'm singing. When you're working on your next transition, it's like you're letting this kind of thing passively happen. You've decided what's going on and you know why it's rolling, but actively you're engaging with the next steps. Like,
oh, and the way I mix music now is I have my left track is what's playing, my right track is what's probably going to come next, and then I've got my 2... So on one of the controllers I use, you could mix on all 4 if you really wanted to. I never actually mix on all 4, but I have 2 songs ready to go usually at the bottom because I'm taking the temperature of the crowd and seeing, like, okay, are they grooving to this? Because if they're grooving to this, they're definitely going to groove to the next song. Because sometimes that next song might be coming out of left field or be my next way to jump into another genre or jump into just the sing-along part of the night. Like, because what you can do is there's a lot of tricks you can do with your mixer to, like, come out of a song. You can hit play or the play pause button, or whatever they call it on the controller, and like up the song, and then everybody notices something changes, and then you can be like, get on the mic and do something fun, or you can just slam into like, there's a lot of fun things you can do. You just don't want to jerk people around all night because then it's going to be like, then as you saw at that wedding that you were attending with your wife, I got so many requests that night, but it was fun because I knew the vibe. They were like, "Oh, you play this? Will you please play this?" And I was literally, Matt, I was playing songs for maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes at the most. A standard song is 3.5 minutes long. So I have a lot of remixes, cut edits, and they were, I mean, they were up all night. Like, not just part of it was because we were constrained to more. Alt Park really had to kind of bring everything inside because it was raining literally that entire weekend.
Yes.
They lost power the day before.
Hurricane.
And let's talk a little bit more about that. It was such an interesting situation because I work a lot. I've worked alt probably half a dozen times in the past 4 or 5 years, and I know that the planners they have are great. And that weekend ended up being a little crazy because the day before they literally had no power, so they had to get generator figure out, blah blah blah. And I had been chatting not only with the couple, but I had been chatting with one of the planners, like, hey, can you bring a generator in case we need it? I was like, yeah, I already talked to Nick and Quinn. It's cool. And then the day of, she's like, hey, can you bring some uplights? And that's a kind of a hard subject because I know, because I've worked through another entertainment company, I'm not supposed to bring uplights because they have the exclusivity for lighting. I don't want to tread on that. He still hires me out for weddings every once in a while, and it's great. I don't want to screw up that relationship. She's like, I mostly just need uplights for the base, for the bathrooms, because we need to make sure we have light there.
That's hilarious.
It really is.
So it's not even really uplights. It's I need lights in the bathroom. I need
light, yeah, and I know uplight could do it. So we were going. I was problem solving all weekend that weekend, and by the time I got there, you said this when you saw me in shorts and a blazer. You're like, this man's out here working.
Yeah, this guy. You didn't seem like you weren't in it and moving along, but it's like clearly a little disheveled.
Oh yeah,
you notice like things hadn't gone as smooth.
Mostly because I'm usually at a venue 2 hours before it starts, but because so much kept changing, they were like, "Can you do this? Can you do this?" I'm like, "Yep, I can do that." And I had to keep updating them on my ETA. And like I talked to one planner, but the other planner hadn't heard what I had already told them. So I showed up a half hour before the ceremony was starting, fully confident that, yeah, I'll be set up for everything in time. And I was, you saw that.
Yeah.
But I have to kind of piece it together differently because I usually load everything in. Then I go set up for ceremony.
Yes.
Because it's kind of like, I want to make sure this is good to go before, because ceremony setup is usually super easy for me.
Totally. You kind of walk through the day backwards in some ways.
Exactly.
But I think when you talk about that very particular lane of work, it's more about your willingness to do whatever it takes for the client versus
Absolutely.
If I'm in a bar or restaurant, it's like I am here to do what I do.
And they already trust you.
Exactly. And there's not a lot of additional requests to be had.
They've seen the product that you prefer, and you can take requests, but they also know that like you might not fully know it.
Yes, exactly. Like the other day, dude, this was ridiculous. I'm playing the Colts after party in Indianapolis.
Oh man!
And I get requested
Lucas
to play.
Oil's so cool.
Well, I wasn't at Lucas Oil.
But were you in like the?
I was at the Tin Roof down there.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know they go down there a lot.
I got asked to play "I'm Proud to Be an American."
Oh,
in the middle of my set, I'm
Lord.
like, "This is a no." And this guy had already Venmo'd me, and then he requests his money back, and he's pissed at me. It's like, hey, I'm not here to make sure you're happy. I'm here to entertain this room, and I'm going to do that.
And I will not be entertaining if I play that song, nor do I want to play that song.
Exactly. Great track. I'm not doing it. But when it comes to a bride and groom, if you come up and make a request to me, I now have to think about the 15 different ways I can pull this off, whether it's by myself, with the band, play it on the set break, whatever needs to happen.
Can I pull something up on an iPad and make sure I even know the chords to this?
Yeah. So what was it like to then go from you're gigging early on in that sphere where it's like you're learning how to accommodate clientele more than you're learning your own taste necessarily as a DJ?
I think it's the expectations that change over time. Like when you are, okay, the expectations you would expect from someone that's getting paid $100 to play guitar at a gig is going to be different than whatever you guys charge for a full band or what you charge as a single act. We don't need to get into those numbers, but, you know, when you're kind of playing, you're almost playing Guitar Hero or you're playing DJ Hero. You're starting off in a smaller club, you're going to a bigger club, all that jazz. So something was told to me very smart recently where you need to lower your expectations. Not too much, but like kind of a under promise, over deliver type deal. So they know if somebody has been to a wedding of mine, they know that I can mix, they know that I can keep the crowd going. But sometimes you got to just change one little thing to see how it affects the rest of the night. Even that party that you were at with your wife, I noticed. So like I love nicotine. Let's be honest. Like going out for a hit of my vape or like throwing in a lozenge. My whole family smokes, so it's not a surprise at all. But sometimes I just sneak out to my car and take a hit or two, come back, and I'm good. I don't even need it, but it's like I'm in a good mood, and I like another mood enhancer. So we're kind of outside at all, not completely. I mean, I'm like, I could probably sneak it in here. So I did, and I hit it once, hit it twice. I shit you not, Matt. Right after that, I see 6 more people vaping. 20 minutes later, I'm like, all right, hit it again. 15 people have their. You set a certain expectation with your formality too, because they see it. A lot of times, I'll set up for a wedding, and I'm coming set up in like my shorts or pants, and then a branded tee, just like this for the hype machine.
Yeah.
And then I have my bag with my clothes. I'm gonna go clean myself up. I'm gonna fix my hair. And then sometimes I come out and the planner's like, "Whoa, I didn't even recognize you." She's like, "I know." I was like, "You didn't expect me to DJ in a t-shirt and shorts, did you?"
Some people do.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Yep, some people do. So I've always been. The funny thing is, it's not like anything special, but I've had like the same 3 suits for the last 8 years, and I'm just taking care of them.
Yeah.
This one I splattered in blood for Zom Prom because it was getting a little grimy.
I want to talk a little bit about Zomprom before we move on.
So I have always loved Halloween. I've tried to pull the trigger on quite a few bigger Halloween events. To give you an idea, back in I think it was 2016. I had this grandiose plan to do like this alter ego, DJ alter ego. I was going to learn how to use Ableton. I was going to do all this projection mapping. And basically, I had to kind of lie to some people about like what was really going to happen. I'd kind of booked some bands out. And then I got so overwhelmed, like I was having a panic attack about the whole thing. I had canceled it and then like sent some gift cards to the bands and acts that I said, hey, the promoters fell through, but they wanted me to give you a thank you, so I sent them like a Visa gift card or something of that nature. And they're like, it's fine, man, whatever. I gave them plenty of time to like, schedule something else.
Yeah.
So that was my first failure when it came to a Halloween party. And then I worked with the fine folks at Urban Artifact, and we were bringing in this guy called Wicked the Instigator. He does incredible mashups, like super fun dude. And he was doing a tour at the time where he was doing all vinyl, and he was doing like some real trippy ass shit with vinyl. So, no shade to who was working there at the time. It wasn't Devin. Devin is still my favorite person ever.
Angel. I love him, man.
But they were booking a lot of acts, and like this event was not getting any like they weren't doing great at pushing it. They expected a lot more out of me. I was like, no, I'm pretty much booking the people here and trying to get you in coordination with who how to make this event pop. So it still happened. I got paid, the other DJ got paid, and so did the headliner, Wicked the Instigator. But like the person that was booking at the time texted me like the next day, I just want you to know that event last night cost us $1,000. And I'm like, okay, bro. And he didn't like. I don't know if that was more so he just needed to get it out because he was stressed, but like I don't think his expectations were that we were going to promote the shit out of this, and like we did, but we were given certain like I had to essentially design a whole bunch of stuff. It just didn't work out. Like seriously, a half dozen people showed up, and I think for this DJ just to come, it was going to be $1,500. So,
and that's a tough thing.
And but the problem was when they saw that there was no traction in ticket sales, they decided to book bands that would play before, and it was a weird kind of crossover where they didn't really give it a chance. We were going to do it upstairs in the sanctuary area at one point because we're like, shit, if it grows, we can move the whole thing upstairs. And it was just I learned so much from both of those events though that I'm not mad that they happened or that they went that certain way because I've learned so much from them. I've learned more from my mistakes than I've learned from that. So that brings us to Zomprom. Last year, talking to Mike Martin, Mike, he's great. Lots of success. He's done a lot of successful events, and right around, I'd say July or August of last year, I was like, hey, I want to throw this idea at you. Like, I've been wanting to do something like this for years. It's called the Zomprom. So it's basically come dressed up like you were going to the prom, but you're dead. Like you're a zombie. Now we had to clarify with people like you can dress up as however you want. It'll be awesome, super fun.
Halloween costume, but
exactly.
Particularly formal affair.
If you want to, and like we had people that dressed up as Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura, or like,
the mask or whatever.
Or all types of different stuff. There's a lot of great outfits. Somebody dressed up as Homelander from The Boys, and just a lot of fun things. We have it all on photos, but so that went really well. We like both made plenty of money that night. I'll just say that without getting into many details. It was a lot of work, but having a partner to actually do stuff that I didn't want to do. Mike was handling ticket sales, advertising, and I was on the production end, making sure the upstairs and downstairs looked really awesome. And I provided our photo booth, and we're doing it again this year because we had such a good time doing it last year, and they're like, why wouldn't we keep doing this? And so the upstairs is going to be themed as the Disco of the Dead. So I literally have 24 disco balls that we're going to use. I have spray painted 10 5-foot skeletons in chrome. We're going to uplight. We're going to do. This is like my art installation. And Blink this past weekend was kind of a little bit of practice for that too, because we did a disco ball thing in the tunnel. So casualsocialite.com. You will be on the front page. Please go buy tickets. It's doing really well so far. But
what's the date?
November 1st.
And
it is at the Mockbee.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Mockbee's such a great club.
Well, it's got such a cool vibe already of like kind of like a grunginess downstairs, and then upstairs is a little bit more like on the VIP side. So on the first floor we've got K-Like and we have DJ Hope, and then we're opening the upstairs around 11. And me and Sean Matthew are gonna do mostly disco house. And we're going to do some live instrumentation with it, too. Like, I'm going to bring my bass. He might bring his guitar. Do you know Preston Charles Bell?
Yeah.
So we're working on getting him there to play some tracks. My buddy Brian's probably going to come and just jam along to some stuff. We're doing it boiler room style, too. So we're going to have a 360, like, basically stanchions separating us from the crowd, but they'll be able to dance all around us. So
that's awesome.
For the upstairs. So,
yeah.
Kind of, like, we kind of split duties. Like, I was like, Mike, I trust you. Pick whoever you want for the first floor, and he did that. That's how he got K-Like and Hope. And so it'll be more traditional. I don't even want to say traditional. It'll be more like dance, more club heavy / open format downstairs, and then upstairs is gonna open around 11:30. Basically, once the first floor starts to really fill up, we'll open it up and have like more of a disco fun Dead of the Disco theme. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And do you find that events like that tend to be more of your artistic endeavors in a given year?
Absolutely. It's something I want to do because even just I was telling you about the blood spatter booth. We're gonna do basically a section. I'm taking like one of those weed killer pumps. It'll be cleaned out, don't worry, and filling it with fake blood. And for a suggested donation of $5 to Hawksworth, we'll spray your face. We'll spray your like outfit, because some people are gonna come like in an old prom dress or in like a worn out suit or something like that. And I've already got an amazing outfit figured out, as you can imagine. So that stuff's fun. I've always loved Halloween. We used to do a whole bunch of Halloween parties at our old house, and it's just, I don't know, it's fun to like do something different. Speaking of something different, New Year's Eve, I'm sure Mike will like me pointing out his New Year's Eve event. Something different is always awesome.
Yeah.
And it was the reason why I talked to Mike is because I knew I had already seen him be successful in doing these events, and we'd kind of talk back and forth about, I helped him get a confetti cannon, I helped him get some other stuff that he's like, oh, I know that you have this, and I can help you link up and all that jazz. So it's been really all about networking with the right people, and the battles have been a killer, because like even when I'm not in the battles, I was usually going to about half of them, just going to see my friends or going to like, DJs don't get to see each other that often because we're usually all working the same night.
Yeah.
And if we're not working that night, we might go and visit our friends, or we're just like, I don't need to hear music tonight at all because that's all we're doing. So
no, it's important to have those nights where you can just appreciate what someone else does with their craft, and to the networking point, like we all take limited opportunities to put a lot of skin in the game, but to call something our big event of the year or two big events of the year, you can't do it every single weekend. You just wear yourself out that way. So when someone does put their chips down, you hope that the supporting community, whether it's lighting techs, other DJs, folks who are more on the organizational side like Mike, you need those folks to be ready to invest in that kind of thing.
Sure.
While also saying, if it's not their baby, it's not their baby. Like this promoter at Urban, like they want you to be successful without having their chips to be able to put into that pile.
Yeah.
And it's
all about expectations.
Yeah, but it stings when folks don't invest in the same way that you do and things flop. Like there's been plenty of events that I've played that it's one band promotes hard, the other band doesn't give a shit, or
they don't think it's their job, which in certain cases it isn't. It should be like whoever booked them should be doing some of that stuff. But yeah, tell people about your shows for sure, whatever medium you have to.
Yeah, and I think also when it's your hometown crowd, you're not going to be able to draw as much because you're not as limited of a product. Like I was just having this conversation with my buddy Dusty in Louisville last night. If I go an hour and a half out of town, I'm more important to them because I traveled for it. It's more exclusive.
You can be like, "What's up, y'all? I'm from Cincy. So good to be here." And then like, "Ooh, okay."
Yes, it has a different flavor to it. It has a certain relevance to it. Versus in town, I'm a convenience product. That's all I can really offer is what I have to offer this weekend.
And you can be a lot more spontaneous when you're like, "Oh, I only have to drive 15 minutes to a place, and you just need me to play acoustic guitar." Great, because I have 150 songs in my head.
Totally. Or I got something new that I've been writing, or a bunch of varieties of that.
Okay, well, here's a question: How much do you derive your set from what you want to play? Like, how many times are you like, I need to throw some originals in here, or are they more buffer for like? How do you play on your set? Because you guys have original tunes, but you also do some covers, obviously.
Yeah. Well, so my biggest goal in life, I want to make my living off of my own material. I want to stand on my own 2 feet because I love my heroes, and the best thing I can do for my heroes is not to imitate, it's to reciprocate. So I put songs into people's lives that are hopefully meaningful. So at this point in my career, everything's 50-50 pretty much.
Yeah.
I play one of my own tunes, and then I play something from the category of certified bangers that I feel like is a good transition into my next original.
Right.
So I always try to pit myself against songs that I know have cultural significance, that have sing-along value.
And especially if you're kind of on the mic, like maybe you're starting to fade out from one song, or you have the drummer still kind of hitting the beat. Hey, y'all, I hope you like that last one. This one's original, and then go 3, 2, 1, whatever.
Well, you try to set it up in a way that feels significant. Like, I don't like the pandering feel of, oh, this is one of my songs, I hope you like it. It's like, you don't need that expectation.
Let them know, but you don't have to fill them in too much. If it's got a good groove to what they're already listening to, like, just keep on that groove.
Well, the way I do it is, if you hear me talking about the song, if you hear me explaining the premise of it, it's one of my own. If it's a song that you know, I don't need to tell you shit. It's Kiss by Prince. You hear the guitar part, we're in. But if I start to give you some story to try to set the mood, it's my own material.
I'll tell you what was one of my favorite concerts recently. I've been meaning to see John Legend for 20 years. And he recently did the thing with the Cincy Symphony Orchestra. Yeah. And it was incredible. There's a whole nother story there that I'll get into as well. But it turned into a like VH1 Storytellers. And have you seen James Taylor before?
Yes.
Dude, it's like a Storytellers episode. It's great.
Yeah.
But John Legend, he did this thing where he was talking about music, he was talking about people that he's worked with and all that jazz, and telling the stories about like All of Me and stuff like that. And it was so cool because I've been a fan since like 2004, and like right when Get Lifted came out, I think in 04 or 05, like that album, like I probably warped the CD. It got played so much. And there's been a couple times like he came to town, but not really. Like I think he did. Who is it? Who's that big financial firm that always throws a big Christmas party at Music Hall? Western and Southern. So Western and Southern always has like right around Christmas time, they bring in a pretty big national touring artist, and all the tickets are given to their employees. Or like they'll be like, how many do you need? Do you want 2? Do you want 4? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure based on seniority, you get more tickets. But anyway, so the only time he'd been in like close-ish was for stuff like that, where he might have played Cincy Music Festival, and it was just a date that I couldn't go. So I was like, I'm going to. I went to this by myself. I was like, if nobody else goes with me, I don't care. So it's super cool to see that. But another really fun part of that story, my good friend Z and Lexi, I got to be a part of their engagement and their wedding. So take you back to Fountain Square, whatever year it was. I'm not even going to try to remember what it was. My friend, Mark Borson, had said, hey, we're looking for somebody to play this song for my buddy who's blah, blah. It only gave me the details I needed to. And he said something about John Legend songs. Like, John, okay, my ears are perked. What John Legend song? Because I've covered a couple of his songs. And so I met with Z, and I met with his the girl that was going to... We were basically both pretending to be street performers. And we played... Oh, gosh. I can't think of it because I'm so stuck in John Legend. It's... It wasn't Ordinary People. It wasn't... Anyway, I'll think of the song, I'm sure, by the end of this.
Yeah,
but
when you're not looking for it,
I learned the Stay With Me.
Yes.
You'll stay with me. Not the Sam, whatever his name's.
Yeah.
I'll think of it by the time we're done with it. So we're posing as street performers right by the fountain. And we're kind of like looking for Z, very, very tall black man. No reason why that's special, but he's just very recognizable. And an amazing person, amazing photographer too. But so we're just like looking for him, like, okay, he's coming close, and like I'm just kind of like noodling, pretending like I'm playing something else, and then start playing the song, and like I can kind of see like Lexi, his fiance, being like, not fiance yet, just like, oh, this is a good tune. This is, oh, yeah, I love John Legend. And then we're getting a little bit more intense, getting a little bit louder, and then he gets down on one knee and proposes to her. I told Zia, like, listen, I'll do this for free, but just like consider me when you book your wedding. That's all I ask. And so did their wedding. He didn't even know that I could mix at that point. He's like, I just thought you were gonna DJ. He's like, you were so good, blah blah blah. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It's just a fun part of the story. And then I see that this Cincinnati Orchestra show is coming up. I'm like, are we going to the show? What's up? And I ended up getting free tickets to it from a friend from iHeart. And it just didn't work out. The wifey was going to stay home with the kids. And I'm just like, I'm going to sit back and enjoy every minute of this. It's intermission, and Z's like, hey, let's meet up. We'll get a drink at the bourbon bar. So we did. And then I'm walking back with them, and I'm like, I wonder how far they'll let me go. Like to get, because they were literally front row for this concert, and I got up there right front row with them. I didn't take anybody's seat, but I did get a really cool picture with them, like on the stage or like right next to the stage. And then when I was coming back, I just kind of snuck into another seat in the pavilion. I'm like, this is a little better than the lawn.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And so that was a really cool experience, and I love those guys. I actually ended up doing her sister's wedding too, and it was just that stuff. Like, and I have more stories like that too, where just hit the feels, the feelies come out for sure.
How important do you think it is to keep a relationship with like analog instrumentation? Like the more that you have higher profile DJing gigs and you spend this time working with the full spectrum music, going home and just playing acoustic guitar and enjoying those raw elements.
For me, it's therapeutic. Like if I pick a guitar up off my wall and just noodle around with it, it's just like, and it's funny, on my Time Hop, which is an app that reminds you of all the stupid shit you've said before, I've seen it pop up more than twice where I've said, I just need to play music that doesn't come out of my laptop right now. I need to go to an open mic night, play 2 or 3 songs, and then leave, or like hang around and watch people, because it's something I used to do more regularly. We'd throw bands together, we'd do duo stuff or whatever, and that's stuff that I still want to do. It's just now that like music is a way I make money, I have to do it for free sometimes.
Yes.
And in an environment that I love, and I either know that I'm helping with an event or know that like I'm going to enjoy said event because of it. Like,
yeah.
I've jumped on my friend's birthday party a couple times where he just had some people playing some hip or some techno and some house and all that jazz. I'm just like, I'm going to show up if that's cool and bring my stuff and make it work real quick.
Yeah. Do you ever do any songwriting?
Kind of. Like back in 2008, I had a full-on I wouldn't even call us a bluegrass band. We were more of like a 4-on-the-floor folk band. We wrote about 3 or 4 songs. Yeah, they were bad. I mean, we at one point, my good buddy was like learning how to flat pick, and sometimes it was weird. Like all the covers he was really comfortable with, but even when we would practice the originals, it was just sometimes he would turn into the mode of like, I fucked up. I can't get back into the groove. I'm like, Kevin, let's just get back into the 4.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, man. And like we were all still like somewhat amateur musicians at that point. Like I felt comfortable playing bass and guitar. You couldn't put me in front of a drum set to save my life, but I could definitely keep up with a good rhythm. So
yeah, it changes the way that you look at some of these monolithic songs. Like most of these still start with somebody sitting on a couch and hum an idea.
Yeah,
and
that's how Eric Clapton wrote "Wonderful Tonight."
Dude, what a perfect song. I heard someone playing that at a wedding. Dude, I also heard this crazy version of Baby I Love Your Way by Peter Frampton at this wedding the other day. It was not like the...
Did they do it with a talk box or without it? Like,
so it was totally acoustic. It's not like the Frampton Comes Alive version.
Okay,
it's
so
not
it's
studio.
probably like slower in BPM. You mean like they
honestly, it was...
Was somebody like playing it? Or
yeah, it's Peter playing it.
It's
like, it's a studio version that's on Spotify, but I never heard that version. Like... You get more of an idea of the essence of
Do you know who
the
Taylor
person and
Acorn
why.
is?
No.
So she does this cover of Blink-182's First Date that is like, I'll throw it into my cocktail hour or my dinner sets, and people will be like, who is this?
Yeah.
Because they know it's a cover of a Blink song, but like it's totally reworded and redone. And I also Corin Ray Bailey, she does a cover of Love, Love, that is like kind of a loungy, like like mid to low tempo song, and it is beautiful.
Hell yeah.
It's so good. Or like even throwing on Lauryn Hill's cover of Can't Take My Eyes Off You.
I do. I love that
Oh
version.
my
That
gosh,
song.
I'm so mad that they pulled out. And I'm not trying to talk shit about Lauren, but she's well known for not showing up to shows and dropping out of stuff. We were so close to getting the Fugees back in August, and that would have been like I was like, I will spend $1,000 on a ticket by myself if I have to.
Yes.
To be as close to that stage as possible. I've seen Wyclef. It's kind of hard to see John Forte because he's been in jail, but like
He'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back.
All things in time.
Yep, for sure. Well, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, as we start to conclude today, brother, anything else that you want to promote? Anywhere else you want to send people?
I was telling you about Hype Machine.
Hype Machine?
This past Monday, we just did kind of like the big reveal party, and I'm gonna throw you a shirt right now.
Please. Thank you,
It's
man.
American Apparel, so it's nice.
Oh, dude, that's a really nice T-shirt.
Yeah. But Hype Machine is the new name. JM
Perfect
Entertainment
black
was.
band tee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know it. That's what all my closet is black shirts. Not because, anyway.
Yeah.
It's the DJ. And
It's just the industry need.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I got a lot of bacon grease on my favorite white T-shirts yesterday. I was like, why do I do this shit to myself?
Oh gosh, but yeah, we're real excited. We've got a lot more opportunities opening up with Braxton, and also just I'm going to be moving into more of a managerial. I'm cutting the amount of weddings I do pretty much in half next year,
Cool.
and kind of seeing how that affects our income and things of that nature. Because there's times in like July, August, and September where I'm getting like 5 different inquiries a week, and only half of them I could actually fulfill. So I'm trying to put some of the logistical / planning burden on my wife and mom, because they've already expressed that they want to, and like that's what my wife did at the ballpark. She used to work for Delaware North, who did all the concessions for Great American. So just that thehypemachine.co will be it. I just bought it the other day.
Cool.
We're still like slowly switching over socials. I don't want people to be afraid, because like they, and they'll still be able to correspond with me through the old email too, but it's kind of like I have a tendency to get way ahead of myself, but in a good way. But I need to like sometimes slow down and be like, this is all you have to get done for this party or whatever. So,
Yeah, the entrepreneurial mindset takes off.
Yeah,
You know, it's part of the creative.
Some of those nights where you just can't turn your brain off, you're like, I have to do something with this, because otherwise I'm just going to go crazy.
Yes,
So,
I won't sleep tonight if I don't.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on today,
Dude, thank
brother.
you so much. It was so good.
Yeah, friends, thanks for watching. All the love in the meantime. Peace, players.